We have some breaking news. The Toronto Maple Leafs have made some absolutely shocking moves and following a very disappointing loss against the Red Wings last night. Folks, we have some huge updates as Berube has made some big changes, including one to Easton Cowan that not many saw coming. We're going to break down these moves and also some huge Leafs updates ahead of a very, very exciting, hopefully, game tomorrow with Thanksgiving upon us. Before we get into it all, folks, if you're a part of the percentage who aren't subscribed to the channel, quick reminder, hit that subscribe button. Also, happy Thanksgiving to everyone here in Canada. Your guys' support has been unbelievable. Darius, a ton to go over here today, and it is a very busy Sunday. The Jays are playing. The Leafs, kind of surprisingly, are on the ice, and we have a bunch of updates that not many people expected. And it all started with again, this dropped minutes ago, from Nick Barden. Shout out to him for the coverage. Easton Cowan is in the top 6 wearing blue, and Bobby McMann is in the bottom 6 white as Maple Leafs begin practice. So we also have an update on Steven Lorentz. Stay tuned till the end for that. But Darius, in a day where not a lot of people necessarily were expecting huge changes. Now, we expected Easton Cowan to get in. Darius, he's getting in, and he is doing so on the top line. He's projected to slide into the top line alongside Austin Matthews and Matthew Nyes in tomorrow's afternoon game. We'll dive into the whole lines in a minute here, but Easton Cowan is going to be in not only the top 6, but the top line. And you'll notice there is no Steven Lorentz here. So Darius, I'm gonna get your thoughts on this. I actually love it a lot.
Yeah, when you lose a game like that, you're not getting Thanksgiving off. They're back on the ice. I'm a little surprised that they are practicing today, but back on the ice today, and then another game tomorrow, and then another game on Tuesday. So that's pretty interesting. But yeah, Easton Cowan skating on the first line. And I think this actually makes a lot of sense throughout the lineup. And when you're talking about Easton Cowan and what he showed through training camp and preseason, it was the play away from the puck. And I think that's what Berube was so happy with, because we know what he can do with the puck when the puck is on his stick. But in the NHL, you don't get the puck on your stick very often, right? So what do you do away from the puck? And he's been responsible defensively. That line that he was on in the preseason was probably their best line out of any line that we saw kind of mixed around with in the preseason. So he's getting trusted with this opportunity, which is huge. He was out of the lineup completely, and now he's on the first line. He's being trusted with this. So we were saying on stream yesterday, Easton Cowan is imminent. He will make his debut against the Red Wings on Monday, which is very exciting. It's an Amazon Prime game. They moved it up so it doesn't conflict with the Blue Jays, which is nice. But now this has implications throughout the lineup. Michelli moves down to a second line that has looked very lackluster, was awful against Detroit. All the advanced analytics were horrific for that line. So you change that one up, and then look at the third line. We're going back to the hits. We're going back to what worked last year. If everyone remembers, Domi in the middle, McMann and Robertson. So that should be a pretty good line as well if they can continue to kind of capture what they had going at times last year. So pretty good stuff here. Decor, of course, untouched, and then you have, Stolarz is probably going to start again. We'll see what happens with that and which game Caden Primo gets. But I like these moves, and I think that they could actually work out. And I think Berube, going into last night was saying, why would we change anything? We won. And I get that, right? And that's what coaches do. Well, you lost and you looked horrible doing it. So he's changing things up, and Cowan's getting a massive opportunity here.
Yeah, and obviously an update came out that following last night's hit that forced him to leave the game, Steven Lorentz is not on the ice. Now, speculation of a concussion. If that's the case, he's going to miss a week or two. Hopefully that's not, the full case. I'm sure we'll get an update later today into tomorrow. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty exciting. And there's no update on the severity of the injury. I'm not saying the injury is exciting, but at least the moves that are being made here. And something else to keep an eye out on. You mentioned it. The second line, McMann was there. Michelli, he didn't look great on the first line. They're giving Easton Cowan a chance to prove that he can stick around. I mean, if he goes out and performs well, they won't take him out of the lineup, right? They've already showed a willingness to have him miss games with the Marlies. The Marlies season has started. Games are happening. And that third line we saw last year, but also now this fourth line with Dakota Joshua, Nicola Watt, and Calle Jarnkrok, that was a line that looked really, really good in the preseason, but it was Lawton, of course, instead of Calle Jarnkrok. So they're putting, obviously, Dakota Joshua and Nicola Watt together here now. Joshua's looked a bit rough, right? Thus far, as fans are a little bit on him. I think he hasn't been completely terrible. I think he's using his body. There's changes at every single line, and this is something you don't get usually 2 games into the season. But you get Easton Cowan now, and hopefully Bobby McMann can look good down there on the third line. I don't think Bobby McMann looked terrible yesterday. I think he had some decent periods. But at the end of the day, with Lawton out and Lorentz out, two very important pieces, you now have Easton Cowan prepared to not only make his debut, but do so at the highest level. And it's not often on a team that's expected to, put up over 90 points, make the playoffs, where you have your top prospect come up and immediately get thrown onto the top line. However, it's been clear the void of Mitch Marner is at least being felt internally. Maybe, I'm not saying they miss Mitch Marner and all these things. And a lot of people do say, have been saying that, especially, with the way things have gone. But they haven't found someone to stick on that top line yet. And that's where the trade deadline, I think, will come in, unless their top prospect, Easton Cowan, can fix that in one quick hit, one fell swoop.
Yeah, and Domi didn't even get that opportunity to try, to play on the first line because of that injury to Scott Lawton, right? So we haven't even seen that yet. So we'll see what that looks like eventually, I hope, right? Hopefully injuries don't really start to stockpile here. But, Easton Cowan on that top line, when you're talking about that, it's very interesting because when you look at what the top line has been, Michelli has looked okay to me and he's making plays, but there's been no like punch on that line so far to start the season. And they looked, the whole team, and I think that it was more on Nylander and Tavares' play than it was McMann. McMann has looked okay, I guess, right? He's not going to score you 50 goals or anything like that. And he's trying to do the things that he's good at, play physical, use his speed, stuff like that, but it just hasn't worked out. So they're making some changes, right? So that first line as well, like I was saying, doesn't really have that punch through the first two games. A couple of them do have goals, right? But an empty netter for Austin Matthews, right? And he hit the crossbar yesterday. So now you're injecting some youth into that line. And Cowan, who's going to be shot out of a cannon because he's making his debut at home on the top line. And he has like 45 people, he said, that were, waiting to end up coming to whatever game it was, right? So he's going to have people in the building. It's at home. It's in the afternoon. The city, there's a buzz around the city right now with the Jays as well, right? So he's going to be shot out of a cannon. Maybe it gets Matthews going a little bit too, playing with some more speed. And I can't reiterate it enough. He looked good in the preseason, like responsible away from the puck. So I feel like that will be a good line. But I feel like there's a couple players through this new lineup that have short leashes. I have to be honest, right? I feel like that third line could be nuked very quickly. We'll see what happens with that. Same with Easton Cowan. If it's not going early, he could end up somewhere else, right? So we'll see what happens tomorrow, but they're going to go in with this. And I think that's very exciting. And hopefully, like you were mentioning, never want to see injuries. Hopefully Lawrence is okay and it's not a concussion and something like that. He wasn't necessarily a blindsided hit, but it didn't look like he was ready for it. The impact was kind of odd. So we'll see what happens with that. But I think the Leafs need to come in, especially against Detroit again, and make an impact on Monday.
Yeah, and obviously Berube recently said he didn't feel like there was any need to change up the game yesterday. Clearly has changed. Cowan's been ready. He said it was out of his control. He's been working hard every day. He's getting rewarded with that. And Stolarz is going to get the nod again tomorrow with Caden Primo on Tuesday. And Stolarz spoke out in the loss, said at the end of the day, it's a lesson for us. We have to come into play every night. It doesn't matter who you're playing. They can put all of that away, all the Mitch Marner talk that's going around, all that away if Easton Cowan has a good game. Also, earlier I said, Joshua, Watt, and Lawton. It was actually Joshua, Watt, and Michelli that were playing together in the preseason. But Joshua and Watt have been playing together. I'm excited for that fourth line. Watt looked really good. Yarn Brooks looked really good. Maybe they can give Joshua a bit of a jump there. But let us know down below. Lots of moves coming. We'll keep you up to date. Thank you guys for watching.